Hey everybody, it's GauntletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today I'll be playing the Out of the Shadows event. This is the next of the emblem-focused Kamigawa Neon Dynasty events. This one is whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, a random creature card in your hand perpetually gets +1/+1. Until your next turn, you may cast creature spells as though they had flash. So this is yet another emblem that highly advantages creature-based decks, especially aggressive ones that can play creatures turn 1, turn 2 to start attacking with. It also gives all the creatures flash, so it does help a lot with creatures with enter the battlefield effects. They can now get them just out of nowhere during your opponent's turn, which is pretty spicy. And this is another emblem that's going to highly advantage whoever plays first, so I expect the win rate of being on the play versus on the draw is going to be a huge disadvantage in this one, where on the play is going to be like 70%, on the draw is like 30%. Because being the first one to start snowballing your creatures out when they're getting extra power and being able to come in with flash is going to be absolutely massive. Because you know how it tends to play out if it's an aggressive mirror match. Whoever goes on the play becomes kind of the aggressor and the other has to kind of control them and hold them off. Well, this format's going to be a lot of aggressive mirror matches, and it adds an emblem that adds even more of a snowball effect to the first person getting attacks through. So that is my general thoughts on the format. As always with these emblem events, you will get card styles. For competing in the event, it's 2,000 gold or 400 gems. One common card style would cost you 1,000 gold, so as long as you get one win, you are getting a cheaper deal than buying the cards individually if you're trying to collect all 12 Ninja Showcase styles. But if you're not trying to collect any card styles, you're not getting your money back unless you get a 4-win run, so not a good deal unless you are a card style collector. So with that all out of the way, let's look at the deck I'll be playing today. It is going to be a very aggressive mono red deck with a ton of haste creatures, as you can see by the deck box here. We are even running the original Raging Goblin because just being able to get those triggers as soon as possible is really nice. So I think running a ton of 1 and 2 mana haste creatures is going to be pretty huge. After that point, haste is still useful, but not useful enough to play cards like Raging Goblin. So we're not playing like Breakneck Berserker, a 3 mana 3/2 haste, or 2 mana 2/1 haste or anything like that. We are playing like bigger hastes, like a 3 mana 3/3 haste. I think that's right on the borderline of what I would still run just to get some haste in there. But definitely you'd prefer, they're really good haste stuff like Reckless Stormseeker is absurd in this format. Arnie Broken Brow is pretty absurd as well. So the general deck idea, as I've been saying, is to just get out on the board before your opponent does, haste your opponent, keep hitting them consistently to get those emblem triggers to make sure the rest of the creatures you play are going to come in and be even larger, and keep the board cleared with all kinds of removal to make sure that you keep hitting your opponent, getting those emblem triggers. So very self-explanatory deck, but there's the list here, and I'll have the list in the description below. So without further ado, let's hop into the gameplay. Here we are, game 1 on the play, which is very nice, but we don't have a creature till turn 4, which is kind of wild for this deck. I think we have to mulligan for that reason, if we're just not getting any emblem value in the early game. Sure, we can sit here and clear out our opponent's creatures, but much rather have something to play early game. Wow, this hand's even worse. This is pretty ridiculous. Mull to 5 it is, and we do have a 1-drop and a 3-drop here. Get rid of Kazul's Fury and Shatter Skull Smashing probably, or maybe Kazul's Fury Mana Form Hellkite. Looks like our first hand would have been the one to keep, because our second hand was super bad, and this one we're just down so many cards that it'll end up being weaker than the first one would have been. Yeah, I think I am getting rid of Mana Form Hellkite here. So, Hulking Bugbear will be a 3 mana 4/4 haste. If we hit them again next turn, it'll be a 3 mana 5/5 haste. Mono white, Portable Hole, so we will not hit them again this turn. They're not necessarily mono white, but they're probably mono white, because this format is just honestly kind of irritatingly weighted towards creature decks, where it feels very samey. I did do a practice run through before, and it was just nothing but mono red, mono white. So I do not love this format if I'm being completely honest, but for variety's sake, I like to make sure and do at least one of these new events when they come around, if I've got the time. Yep, Skyclave Apparition it is for the 2-for-1 removal spell while we're already down 2 cards. Should probably seal the nail in the coffin here. Because we can shoot that and get back a 3/3, I guess, but they've got 5 cards left in their hand. I do not see much of a comeback being likely here. Should we have done this during our turn when they were tapped out? I was going to say they might be running some kind of combat trick to protect that, so maybe we should have. Battlefield Raptors coming down. Pretty small. Easy to blow up if we want to Dragon's Fire it, but we could also hold out for a Shatter Skull Smashing, potentially. Let's attack in. If they try to do some kind of combat trick to kill our 3/3, we just Dragon's Fire. Piercing Light. Alright, they are trying to kill it, so Dragon's Fire. Scry card to the top, take 3, they're down to 12. Two cards in hand here, but they do have a Cave of the Frost Dragon on the board, which is a 3/4 flyer. There's Nadar. We need 1 more mana to kill that with Shatter Skull Smashing, and we would very much like to do that. Scry to the bottom. We hit Moonveil Regent. We can still just attack in here and offer the trade, and if they don't take the trade, then our Moonveil Regent's a 5/5 flyer for 4, and if they do take the trade, then we got rid of Nadar. Unless the one final card in their hand is another trick. It's another trick. +2/+2 till end of turn. Okay. So we've traded our token for their final combat trick, got that out of the way. So here's Moonveil Regent down on board. They top deck a land. They can activate the Cave of the Frost Dragon, but a 4/4 flyer is big enough to block either of their creatures. So no real attacks here. I guess they do venture into the dungeon again when they attack, get a treasure token or a goblin, but that's probably not worth sacrificing Nadar. So I expect to pass the turn here. And that is what happens. We've got Kumano Faces Kakazan or Crawling Barons can be put into, or can be made a 2/2. Whenever you cast a spell, discard your hand, draw a card for each of that spell's colors. So I could actually go ahead and... This feels weird, because if I just wait for 1 more mana, I could just kill Nadar with this, but I don't like waiting in a mono red deck. I'm pretty impatient, so I'm just going to play the land to cast Kumano Faces Kakazan to draw a card off Moonveil Regent. Why did it come into play tapped? Oh, it didn't. I spent the red from it. What am I on about? Ooh, and we draw Thundering Rebuke, which we can then use Thundering Rebuke to kill Nadar, which means we can draw another card off Moonveil Regent, because this card's absurd. It's like Experimental Frenzy all over again. Now we get to attack in, because this is a 3/4, yeah. And we have a Royal Eruption for their next 3 toughness or less creature. Why, I'm surprised this game turned around like it did. After our initial mulligan and then their cheap removal like Portable Hole and the 3-mana 2/2 that exiles a card, they had like 5 cards in hand and a creature on board down to our like 2 with nothing. But it looks like it's turning around here. This is insane. Yeah, and this is just going to be lethal right here. They've got nothing in hand to stop this. The Royal Eruption to face. Put them to 0. Wow. Huge, huge stuff from Moonveil Regent and just the cheap removal in our deck. Really getting us back into that one. after those initial mulligans. I probably should have just kept that opening hand. Because again, like we had a lot of cheap burn in there, and cheap burn is what what ended up letting us really get back into that game and regain control in that one. Even after the mold to 5, it was the kind of stuff that our opening hand had that let us win the game in the end. So here we are now in game 2. We are on the play, which is hugely advantageous, and our hand is ridiculous. So I feel really good about this one. Immediately get a trigger off of Goblin Javelineer, hitting our opponent. Buffs our Atsushi to be a 4-mana 5/5 flying trample. Absolutely insane. We of course have another haste creature on 3. Our opponent is playing the mono red haste deck, as are we. Rabbit Battery turn 1 it is. I like holding on to Shatter Skull Smashing against a mono red deck. We can do a ton of work with that. So let's just hit again. Buff Atsushi again. That's going to be a pretty insane card. Hopefully, our Reckless Stormseeker is still on board when we cast our Atsushi, so we can give it haste the turn it comes down. Ooh, it's going to be green-red here. Green-red cheap creatures.deck. Reconfigure Rabbit Battery onto the Tenacious Pup to stop us from attacking into them this turn. Well, we can still attack him with a Hulking Bugbear or a Reckless Stormseeker. Rather play a Reckless Stormseeker because that will give Atsushi haste next turn, as I said. There is an argument for attacking with Hulking Bugbear instead, and that would be if we expect them to have a 3 damage removal spell for 2 mana here, which they very likely do have. 1/1's not going to be doing too much to them anymore. And we can stop them from getting the emblem trigger, so they can't play a creature with flash, which is kind of good. Still, I don't know. I don't think I want to block, though. Kessig Wolf Rider. Really big on the ground. Alright, let's see if we can do our thing. Make a ridiculous Atsushi. Just hit them for 8 twice. What could they have for 2 mana that can kill an 8/7 flying trample in green-red? I can't think of anything they could have. They could have like an Act of Treason and try to kill us with our own Atsushi. I think that would be our biggest fear. Other than that, I don't see much they can do this game. Because this just got all 3 of our perpetual triggers. So Kessig Wolf Rider coming in with Vigilance. Yeah, we don't have good blocks for that. They will get the Out of the Shadows trigger. And Helena comes down with Reach. Pretty big. We don't have the mana to kill that. We're 1 off. Actually, we're 2 off from Shatter Skull Smashing to kill that. That is their only Reach blocker, though. So they do have to chump block. So they have to block there, and we trample over for like 4. Because we can give +1/+0 with Stormseeker. You just make a 5/4 Shatter Skull Charger. Does that find lethal? I don't think so. I don't think this finds lethal, but let me do math here. 4 damage. They block there. 1 more damage. So -4, -5. They're at 3 life. At 3 life, they block there. Take that. Go down to 2 life. Yeah, it's not lethal. But I think we do attack with both of these for sure. But because it's not lethal if we attack all, I don't think we attack with these 2. Oh, I guess they have a good double block here. I didn't think of that. But we do get rid of this Trample, Vigilance, Menace, spit out 3/2s thing. Need one land to blow up Pup with this Shatter Skull Smashing. I'm still going to keep it in hand. Alright, they're just going to scoop them up. Nothing to get rid of the Atsushi here. Just ridiculously big on turn 4. A turn 4 7/7 flying trample that even does stuff when it dies. So we are 2-0 now as we head into round 3. Alright, here's going to be our first game where we are on the draw, and we are really going to feel it with this hand because we are not going to even play a turn 1 haster or a turn 2 haster, but being able to play a 3/3 first strike on turn 2 still feels pretty big. A lot of 4 drops in this hand, but again, we're on the draw, meaning we're going to draw on the first turn. We've got 3 turns to draw our 3rd mana, and then it'll feel like we never even missed a land drop if we draw our 3rd land turn 3. Problem is we need to hit a 3rd and 4th land here. But Kumano faces Kakazan into Dragon and Berserker is strong. I'm gonna keep... We'll see how we draw here. Oh, wow. I actually genuinely don't know what to do. Do we still Kumano faces Kakazan so that we can play a bigger Dragon Berserker next turn? Or do we just play Javelineer into Berserker and then Kakazan on 3 for one of our 4 drops to come with a counter? I think we do that. And we might even get like mega lucky here and get the perpetual bonus on Dragonkin Berserker. We get it on Atsushi again. Maybe we'll get our 4 mana 7/7 flyer down. Ooh, Rahilda's the draw. Pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. So now we have 2 2-mana cards we could get the buff off of with Javelineer if we were lucky. On our RNG, it's Atsushi again. It loves putting it on Atsushi. Rather play Rahilda here than Dragonkin Berserker. First, because Rahilda could get the double strike. Fateful Absence will get rid of Rahilda. Playing against a somewhat controlling deck here. Now the Elite Spellbinder probably slow down Dragonkin Berserker because nothing else in her hand is castable, but maybe slow down Atsushi because that is a 6/6 flying trample for 4. Thundering Raiju it is. There's a play with fire to keep the board clear here, but Goblin Javelineer already just automatically wins at combat against Elite Spellbinder with its ability. So I think we just attack in. And then we'll play with fire if they don't block. Another buff on Atsushi. What the heck? Does this specifically like look for legendaries or something? All right. I mean, I'll take it. I'd love to draw a card here to get closer to another land. If I knew that the top card of our library was a land, I would just draw a card here. But because we just have no guarantee, I'm just going to kill the Spellbinder. Stop them from triggering their ability. And there's the Luminarch Aspirant down, which we would trade into with an attack here. Offer the trade. Alright, just get another trigger. Alright, we do get a buff on Battlecry Goblin here, so we'll go with the Battlecry Goblin. And that will be big enough to attack into Luminarch Aspirant, even if after it gets another +1/+1 counter on it. Alright, we do hit the land now, which is still really helpful because we get to play Kumano faces Kakazan and Dragonkin Berserker here. And we can buff both our goblins, so we can actually have Javelineer still trade up and have the mana for Kakazan left over, so I think we attack both here. I should have done that pre-combat. But I guess this way, if they don't block... I guess that's pretty arguable. If we buffed Battlecry Goblin pre-combat, then we'd get a Goblin token when we attack here. But if we waited till combat, then if they don't block Javelineer, then we get to play Dragon Berserker Kumano faces Kakazan. So, actually not sure which is better. It's probably the way we did it, because if we did the pre-combat buff, they might just like kill a 1/1 for free anyway. And then our mana's all soaked up. The Wandering Emperor, that is incredibly bad. That is incredibly bad. Yeah, Luminarch Aspirant just gets first strike now. And beats the Battlecry Goblin. Yep, I don't know if I emphasized, but I could not possibly emphasize how bad that is for us. It's a very good Planeswalker. Alright, we do get the perpetual buff on Dragonkin Berserker, which is awesome. Let's get our Kakazan down and get our Berserker down.
I'm not impressed.
She is a 7/7 again. Alright, get your perpetual buff and your instant speed creatures.
Guards, to me.
Toralf's Disciple is the draw. So we'll have to play Disciple with a counter here. We are not casting an Atsushi. So, Disciple it is. It's got haste, so we go pre-combat Disciple. Let's get rid of the Wandering Emperor here, honestly. Just don't want to deal with that. Flashing in the Emerith. Pretty bad. So the Wandering Emperor lives another day. I think we just missed lands too long. Our opponent now absolutely stabilizes with a creature this big. With Ward 4 as well, so there's absolutely nothing we can do to get that out of the way. There's a 5-mana... Oh, it's because the ability, the Perpetual change. This is a 5-mana 6/6? I saw this card and instinctually was like, that's got to be 6 mana, right? A 6/6 flying Ward 4, but it's because of the emblem. Yep, seems good. No, we're pretty locked out of it now. We can't get through to the Wandering Emperor. I guess we could heated debate the Wandering Emperor, but now they have a 7/7 flyer that we cannot kill. That kills us really quickly. Can keep getting bigger from Luminarch Aspirants. Get rid of the Wandering Emperor.
Back to wandering.
Gonna have to pass, and we die in 2 attacks. We die in 1 attack. It's another massive flash flyer that also just removes most of our creatures from existence with the phase ability. So 2 and 1 as we head into round 4. Just a rough hand there. Maybe we should have more lands in the deck here. I am playing a 20 land deck, which is pretty greedy. I do have 2 flip lands, but 20 lands is probably a bit greedy, even for a deck as low curve as this one. So, just if we had drawn lands perfectly and curved out into the turn 4 Atsushi and stuff and all of those 4-drops in hand, we probably could win that game. But definitely missing land drops certainly gave our opponent the time to take control of the game with just bigger cards than we have in our deck. Alright, so we are on the draw again. Opponent on the play with just a turn 1 Field of Ruin. Lion Sash coming down. Goblin Javelineer still great against that Lion Sash. Rahilda doesn't have haste, so we'll play it post-combat in case we get a perpetual counter on it. We do not. It's on Leyline Tyrant. It's a 6/6 for 4. We can still flash out Rahilda. Yeah, we can still play Rahilda in their end step anyway, so I guess we might as well. I haven't been doing that a lot, using the ability to cast creatures at instant speed, but I guess there's not a big reason not to. So there's Hopeful Initiate. Little training card that can blow up artifacts and enchantments. Alright, see if we flash out Rahilda to kill the Lion Sash here. Or if they have the 2-mana removal for Rahilda. Alright, there's the concession from our opponent. Yeah. Bit of an early concession from our opponent, but I know from literally just last game how bad that feels, that just random creatures get flashed because we got demolished by that ability last game with the Emerith from our opponent. Just the fact that your opponent just be like, alright, well, flash in block. pretty huge because you're just not used to playing around flash creatures as often as you do in this, because like literally every creature has flash in this format, so pretty rough one for our opponent. That'll be 3-1 now. But yeah, we did, at least there we got a good visual on why you should probably always be flashing out your creatures, because maybe your opponent will just attack into them if you didn't just play them during your turn. That being said, you can only flash your creatures out if you dealt damage to your opponent in the last turn. So make sure you have that emblem trigger on your board there if you're trying to hold up a flash creature. Here we are now in the final round, win or lose with a definite mulligan, unfortunately. But love that we're on the play. Let's see how it goes with the next hand. Bit slower than I would generally prefer, but we still have a 2-mana creature. A lot of mana, Toralf's Disciple here. I think we can keep this, get rid of one of our lands. And see if this one pans out for us. We do have a Play with Fire to stop an opposing 1-drop haste creature, if that is their game plan here. Nope, and it's got Ward. That's really good against our hand, because now our first striker doesn't even deal with that. Because our first striker, sure, deals with it, but then they get to disturb it from their grave anyway. So if I play Cemetery Gatekeeper, I'm just not blocking. So I think I have to Play with Fire, pay the Ward to kill that, and then exile it with Cemetery Gatekeeper next turn. Although I could also just play Toralf's Disciple next turn, or Hulking Bugbear, which are both more exciting. I think I want to Play with Fire while they're tapped out. Just make sure they're not hitting us next turn. And then yeah, we're playing a Haster next turn, or maybe Cemetery Gatekeeper to exile that. So Boros it is with Rahilda. Turn 2, pretty good. Go Toralf's Disciple here. So we can start getting our hits off, plus get a bunch of lightning bolts in our deck. Cemetery Gatekeeper now a 3/2 first strike. Alright, Rahilda will trigger their ability now. And they pulled a Kazul's Fury out of our deck. They could play it as a land, actually. Alright, they do not. So Kumano faces Kakazan from our opponent as well. Now is our last opportunity before they have 4 mana to get rid of the Disturb effect from their grave. Can also just hit harder by playing another Haster here, which is it is enticing. I don't think I will do that. Oh, we made Inferno bigger. Alright, so Gatekeeper. Exile their creature from their grave. Take the trade with Rahilda if they offer it. Because we have Inferno in hand, and it's even bigger now, we're just going to play this as a land now. Alright, we get the Rahilda off the board. They have 4 mana now. Town Razor Tyrant it is. Start taking 2 every turn from our Shatter Skull Smashing, that's pretty annoying. It's a 5/5 also, because Kumano faces Kakazan. Everything we have is too small to attack into that. Haven't drawn any burn. Looks like stabilization to me. Brutal Cathar too. One mana away from Inferno. Inferno doesn't just like kill them on the spot, so I don't think it matters that much. Can they hit us for 10 here? We go into 8 actually from Shatter Skull. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, they definitely can. So we can't attack all. We could attack with Disciple still, I guess, and then just play Bugbear post-combat. Then we take 7 on board. Oh, Inferno's mega big now. I flash in a Battlefield Raptor, well that just seals it then. 7 damage in the sky. 7 damage in the sky, block one of the other twos. I have to sack Shatter Skull now. Because I block one of these, take 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I go to 1 life. If I sacrifice Shatter Skull, I go to -1 if I don't. So now I can't do Inferno next turn. Alright. Yep, that seals it. Otherwise, we had the plan, if they didn't have another creature in hand, of paying the 2 life to go to 8, then Bugbear out of nowhere to block one of these two. Actually, I should probably Bugbear right now so that doesn't transform into a stronger creature. Or to play around removal, do it. It doesn't really matter. We go to 1 life and then we have a dead card in hand. We can't even cast even if we hit a land. We're not winning the game. But theoretically, it might still be better to hold Bugbear even though Brutal Cathar flips because we could play around sorcery speed removal that way like Thundering Rebuke. Still have a blocker on the ground for that. That 5th land for the 6-drop in hand, that is game. Rough one in the end there. Definitely our 2 losses were both probably just due to the greedy mana base. I think this deck should be, even as aggressive as it is, should probably be running more lands because a lot of that game was, you know, having a card like Inferno in our hand and just never being able to cast it. And the other game that we lost was we had a stack of 4 mana cards and we had 2 lands for most of the game. So probably the land count in this deck is too low. I would recommend increasing that if you're going to play this kind of deck. And this deck is pretty coin flippy. We are just trying to get out there quick. But that's kind of just how this format is in general also. Super coin flippy, snowball-y format with this Out of the Shadows emblem. Really cool card styles though, to reward you for playing it at least. Thousand Face Shadow, Springleaf Avenger, and Inkrise Infiltrator being the 3 that we've won for playing this event. But yeah, that is definitely going to end my experience with the Out of the Shadows format. I am definitely not playing another one of these. Not a huge fan of this one. It was probably my least favorite of all these emblem formats, but they're all just kind of wacky constructed formats. So I didn't play more than 1 time in any of the others either. So yeah, that is going to end today's video. We've got really cool limited Magic stuff on the horizon. If you are interested in drafts, we have Dominaria Premier Drafts returning to Arena April 1st for a week, and then April 8th we've got Ravnica Mixer Sealed events, and then we have Tinkerer's Cube Drafts the week after that, all up until the launch of Streets of New Capenna at the end of April. So a ton of great draft stuff on the horizon that I will be playing. I'm super excited for all of that. In the meantime, I will be playing some Kamigawa drafts here and there, whatever quick draft format it is, and if they do any more of these random events, probably give them a shot. Do one video piece. So, as always, once again, I'd just like to thank you all for watching, and I will see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.